Hey everybody, this is TotalGamerJunkie. I want to welcome you all back to my channel. So before this video starts, I just want to apologize if you're hearing someone else in the background. That's just my roommate, because I'm actually living in a different place now. There are two roommates, just one of them's talking. So hopefully I'm able to edit it out. If not, then I apologize for hearing him. So I'm guessing by the title you are all pretty confused, and I want to clear that up by what I mean. So Life is Strange 1, 2 and True Colors, which will be coming out, we all play as characters with powers. But there's actually a difference. One of the powers is different, and that involves Daniel. Now Daniel, unlike Max and Alex, his powers actually have an impact on the physical world. Now, I know what you're going to say, but Max rewound time. She caused a hurricane storm that can wipe out Arcadia Bay depending on what ending you get. Like, I know that, but unlike Max and Alex, Daniel's powers can actually be seen. Like, he can manifest them in the real world, but whereas the power to rewind, like, no one knows in Life is Strange really that Max can rewind. Like, Max had to prove it to Chloe so she would believe her, but you know, in the beginning when Max is talking to Chloe does not believe her. Now I thought Alex's powers are going to be kind of like Daniel's, where if she can sense someone with a strong emotion such as anger, then that anger can come out and cause environmental damage as well. But it turns out when Alex does that, she ends up creating like she enters a false world that represents that person's built up emotions. It's like in the game Twin Mirror with the Mind Palace, basically, if you want to think of things like that. Now the short answer is yes, I do believe that the next iteration of Life is Strange games, well, not next, but you know, if Deck 9 does make another Life is Strange game which doesn't involve Max, then yes, I do believe that the next person who's going to get powers is going to have something that's discreet, like Alex and Max have. Because it always bugged me that with Life is Strange 2, there was no security footage whatsoever of Daniel using his powers. Like, no one ever brought it up. And it was actually, if any of you remember Life is Strange 2, Daniel gets his powers after seeing his dad get shot. And that's what causes him to let out a telekinetic blast that causes the accident and kills the cop. But what's weird is when they showed the trailer for Life is Strange 2, you can see that cop, he's in his car, and it's actually showing footage from his car's camera. And so we see the power, we see the car get knocked back. So I always found it weird that why does this happen? Like, you have this camera and the car, when Sean wakes up and he sees the damage, the car looks pretty intact. It's not like it's destroyed. And in the trailer, when you see the car flip, the camera is still rolling. Now I assume that for the police who come there, they're like, what the hell's going on? Wouldn't they want to look at the car footage? Which brings me to another conspiracy, like, maybe the government does know about these people with powers in the game and they're covering it up. Because I find it odd how, I also find another thing odd. So, Life is Strange has 4 endings, it's technically 7, but, you know, different variants aren't of the same ending. I don't consider the ending, you know what I mean? So, it's like with Life is Strange, the final season, where it's not multiple endings, it's just one ending with multiple variants, you know, as opposed to as opposed to The Walking Dead season 2, where there's multiple endings, where Clementine ends up with Kenny, Jane, or just heads off on her own. So anyways, getting back on topic here, the ending I'm talking about is where Daniel kills all the police officers and the female detective, whose name I forget, and then Daniel and Sean head across the border, go to Puerto Lobos, and they I forget what the place is called. It was where their dad was, or is it? I don't know what the garage was. I know they're heading to Puerto Lobos, but I don't know what the garage was. if they were, I'm pretty sure they were mechanics or something. But we go a few years later, I think it's more than 5 years later, and then Daniel and Sean are just sitting out back, and they're on the beach, and they're having a beer. And I always found that weird, that no one tried to capture them after us. Like, I'm not too familiar with law, but I understand that when someone commits a crime and they go to another country, there's like loopholes that goes, okay, you can't get this person, they need to be extradited in order to face charges back where they committed the crime in what country. Like, it's confusing for me. I know a bit, but not too much. But Daniel would be the exception. He has powers, so wouldn't it make sense if the government's like, okay, not screw the law, we don't know what he is, he could be an alien, he could be a goddamn X-Men, we don't know, so we have to, not that X-Men exist in the Life is Strange universe, but you know what I mean. So I think the government would just be willing to break that law in order to capture Daniel and study him and find out just what's going on. So I do think it's easier if Deck 9 continues making Life is Strange games where people have this, where the powers that the protagonists have, or the non-protagonists, it makes sense if the powers don't, like, is not something that people can see. Like, maybe, like, someone has the ability to read minds, like, and I guess in a way that's what Alex does. She can read minds in a sense, but, well, it's not reading minds, she just knows the person's emotions, and then she can sense what that person's feeling, and it comes out in dialogue. I think that's what it is. I don't think she's technically reading minds. Like, who knows, maybe a person could have powers with, where they have an out-of-body experience, you know, like, what's that power called, where you make a copy of yourself, but the copy's invisible or intangible or whatever it's called. Like, I'm just saying, like, I think that would be so much simpler than having actual powers, like the power to, like, use the 4 elements, or Magneto's power to use metal or something like that, you know what I mean? I just think it'd be too complicated to write. So anyways, that's the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. This is TotalGamerJunkie, signing off.